Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. It's our Sunday Advanced Bible Study, the 30th of March, 2025. I'm going to be reading out the book of Joshua, chapters 12 and 13, and then I'm also going to have some more information on exposing this 400-year prophecy. So I'll be doing those two things for our topic for discussion, okay? You can go into our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening, check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine, get the meat out, and these videos will lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures, connect dots for you. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated, okay? For those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah, Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance. And the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament, which consist of our laws, our statutes, judgments, according to what the Lord of Hosts gave to Moses on Mount Sinai. Shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our Sunday Advanced Bible Study. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, psalms. We have some current events, some media information. We'll open it up for some Q&A. And then, like I said, we'll go into our topic of discussion, which is we'll be dealing with Genesis 12 and 13, and also exposing the 400-year prophecy that they say is in Genesis 15. And then we'll pick a scripture and we'll close out. Okay. Anybody want to volunteer on the scripture now before we get there? Okay.
Shalom, I got a scripture, sir.
Okay. All right. Oh Lord, we come before thee at the club, thanking you for your mercy and your great power. We appreciate you, Lord, for your patience and guidance in these last days. And we thank you for your awakening of us to this great understanding of your word. And for this cause, we honor and respect you greatly. Turn out that face from us, but allow us in these last days, in our searching of you, to find you, O Lord, and to dwell with you. Peace be unto you. Okay, I'll read the psalm. Okay. Okay, I'll read Psalm 9, praise for God's justice. I will praise thee, O Lord, with my whole heart, and I will show forth all thy marvelous works. And I will be glad and rejoice in thee, and I will sing praise to thy name, O thou most high. When mine enemies are turned back, they shall fall and perish in thy presence. For thou hast maintained my right and my cause, and thou sattest in the throne judging right. Thou hast rebuked the heathen, thou hast destroyed the wicked, thou hast put out their name forever and ever. O thou enemy, destruction are come to a perpetual end, and thou hast destroyed cities. Their memorial is perished with them, but the Lord shall endure forever. He hath prepared his throne for judgment, and he shall judge the world in righteousness, and he shall minister judgment to the people in uprightness. The Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in time of trouble. And they that know thy name will put their trust in thee. For thou, Lord, hast not forsaken them that seek thee. Excuse me. Sing praises to the Lord, which dwelleth in Zion. Declare among the people his doings. And when he maketh inquisition for blood, he remembereth them. He forgetteth not the cry of the humble. Have mercy upon me, O Lord, consider my trouble, which I suffer of them that hate me, thou that lifted me up from the gates of death, that I may show forth all thy praise in the gates of the daughter of Zion. I will rejoice in thy salvation. The heathen are drunk, are sunk down in the pit that they made, in the net which they hid in their own foot. Their foot is taken. The Lord is known by the judgments which he executes. The wicked is snared in the works of his own hands. I can't say that word. Selah. The wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God. For the needy shall not always be forgotten. The expectations of the poor shall not perish forever. Arise, O Lord, and let not man prevail. Let the heathen be judged in thy sight, and put them in fear, O Lord, that the nations may know themselves to be but men. Selah. Anybody got any comments on that? Oh, Psalms 9. Okay. I want to read one verse. Let me get it. It says, verse 10 says, this is important. It says, and they that know thy name, see that? They that know thy name will put their trust in thee. For thou, Lord, hast not forsaken them that seek thee. So in these last days, you got people that don't even know his name, don't even know who he is. So how can they call him if they don't know who his name is? So he says the ones that know his name, know who he is, and call him, those are the ones that are going to receive his salvation. Any comments on that? Okay, so with that being said, we go to some current events. Okay.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Well, I have some interesting news that I am about to share. Of course, no one should be surprised at this point with the way things are going in this country and around the world. This comes as no surprise at all. Anyway, we're looking at a situation that is really, really tripped out, especially for the company that's involved. Before getting into this story, I want you to go ahead and share it so that others can join in on the conversation. Also, if you're new to the channel and you like the truth, you don't have no problem with the truth at all, then subscribe. Be sure to hit the notification bell so that you can be notified each and every time we upload. So anyway, this story is about what's happening right now here in America. We should have seen this coming. And many of us did see it coming, but it's only going to go from bad to worse. We're looking at a situation where squatters have broken into a RV storage lot and took them over. They took over 50 campers. Guess what? These were high-end, brand new campers. And these people took them over. Anyway, go ahead and take a listen at this report. Of course, you know I will be right back.
We begin with one of the most bizarre homeless encampments we've ever seen. Dozens of people have broken into and moved into the storage yard full of brand new luxury RVs.
The lot is in the City of Industry near the corner of Gale and Azusa Avenues. Tonight, KCAL's Lori Perez joins us live with the story. Lori.
Well, Susie and Juan, you're right. We have seen encampments all across LA County, but this is one of the most astounding. What we saw today was a busy and active community of people living in a parking lot full of RVs that do not belong to them. SkyCal video of the lot near the corner of Gale and Azusa Avenues in City of Industry shows dozens of RVs with people appearing to live in them. Outdoor furniture and belongings in the yards like any neighborhood. Except this isn't a neighborhood. It's the storage lot of a company called Black Series RV. And this is their overflow stock of luxury campers that sell for 40 to 100 grand.
We've noticed that several of the trailers have been burning. There's, like I said, there's homeless here. Probably sometimes late at night, they're coming in and out.
Workers like Marilyn Martinez, who works nearby, say a city of squatters started taking over months ago. Massive piles of trash and debris piling up. The RV company says trespassers are now living in at least 50 of their campers. They tried using security teams to retrieve them, but say the few they recovered were trashed. Other times they gave up, fearing for their safety. Martinez says she and her coworkers walk in pairs to their cars.
Sometimes it is kind of dark. You know, we do have to cross over here, and it's like we have to be watching our backs, especially as girls.
The city gave us a statement saying the city does not own the site. This is a private trespass dispute between the property owners and a private party. The city is working with the property owners in helping to coordinate cleanup efforts at the site. And County Supervisor Hilda Solis told us the County of Los Angeles does not have jurisdiction over land use matters in incorporated cities like City of Industry, but my office has been proactive in addressing concerns at the lot. Her office says they've sent outreach workers and alcohol and drug abuse teams to the site. But Raymond Henderson, who says he lives in one of the RVs, says what you see here is desperation. And many moved into the campers only after they had been broken into by others and seemed to be abandoned by the RV company.
They had homeless people come in here, they give you a piece of paper and tell you to call these numbers. That they already know that shelters is already full. Now, they're about to kick out a lot of people that don't really have nowhere to go. So you're going to be seeing them on every bus stop, every street corner. You're going to be seeing these people. It sucks.
And so they were, but
Okay.
This is what happens.
somebody's rights. Oh my goodness. Can I say karma on this one? They were violating the landowner's rights, and so now they have to pay over $95,000 because they took over a lot that they weren't supposed to. And then to top it off, you have the homeless people who then took over the RVs. Gee.
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody heard anything about that?
Shalom, I haven't.
Okay. Anybody else?
Shalom. I think more things like this are gonna keep happening. I'm sorry,
Oh,
Sister
yeah.
Michelle.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna get worse, especially in those populated areas. Okay.
Well, Americans haven't been this worried for almost 20 years, and this is a huge, huge concern. What is happening right now is millions and millions of Americans are looking at the economy, their job, their financial situation, their expenses, and they're wondering, should they make a move? Well, some experts say now is not the best time to make a move, but millions of people say that this is something that they want to do, that they need to do. Well, we're going to discuss this in just a moment, explain what is going on and why so many people are a little hesitant to take on the next step and potentially get themselves their dream home or even their dream job. So I'm going to break this all down in just a moment, explain what is going on and what you are likely experiencing as well. So make sure you stick around and watch this entire video. But before I do ask of one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So something very interesting is happening right now in the United States. And many people are a little bit hesitant and skeptical about taking on the next step, either starting a business, buying a home, buying a car, putting more money into investments, even paying off debt, or taking on a different position even within their current company. There's a lot of people that do not want to make a move because they're worried. Look at this right here. It says, hold on to your desk. Americans haven't been this worried about their jobs since the Great Recession. This was back 17 years ago, where people were concerned. Keep in mind, in the Great Recession, we went from a 5% unemployment rate to I think it was like a 20% or a 10% unemployment rate in, I think it was like September, October, November of 2009, I believe. So again, a lot of issues. But I want to read you this. Look at this right here. It says, you know the sensation when something feels off, but you can't quite put your finger on it. That sensation of, I don't feel so good about this, even though this is a little fuzzy. That's the state of work for many people right now. So if you're a little uneasy about the job market, you're not alone. Somebody reached out to me probably a week or so ago. So kind of March. But what they were asking was something very simple. They had a little uneasy feeling about their employer. Their boss was acting a little shady. He wasn't always into work. Right? Things were a little odd. Well, fast forward just a couple of days ago, I get a response. Okay, and the boss that was acting shady ended up taking on a different position with a rival company. As the boss left, multiple employees left as well. And this person that had this uneasy feeling, well, they're kind of stuck because now everybody left to the rival company. The company that they were at was, or still is at right now, that company is probably going to go under because everybody left. The key pieces left. That's the issue we're facing right now. Okay, so a lot of people don't want to take on a new job. I get it, but at the same time, if this is happening, right? If you see your company, your business is starting to go under, don't be the captain that goes down with the ship. Okay, you may have to jump ship early. Almost achieved the.
Let this soft mineral
dream. We were just days away from buying our first and dream home, but ended up backing out of the deal. Payments are only going to be about $3,800 per month, as we were putting down roughly 50%. But after everything that I have read, I didn't feel comfortable shelling out hundreds of thousands of dollars when we may need that soon. It seems like companies are laying people off left and right. If I don't have a job, then I will need this money later on. But it just sucks that we were so close to achieving the American dream and had to walk away. Yeah. In this current economy, you are going to get opportunities. You're going to get there's going to be great deals on real estate, on vehicles, on timeshares, on vacations. You're going to see great offers for different positions within companies, and it's up to you. You have to decide what's best for you and your family. All I can tell you right now is that what people are saying right now is that this economy looks very much like the 2006 economy, that there are signs where things are going to eventually crash. Now, we're not going to see the real estate crisis like we did before, but it could be a more financial crisis. It could come and hit the economy all in one. So just understand right now is the time to be prepared. Because look at this. Consumer confidence is sliding as Americans' view of their financial future slump to a 12-year low. Yeah, Americans are not extremely confident about this economy yet.
Okay. Any comments on that?
Shalom. Brother Leonard, this is a catch-22. The way they're raising the rent, yeah, it's but I would rather try to call myself purchasing something than to pay the rent that they're charging.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. It's better to be, rent their own purchases rather than be giving money away, rent money. That's the way I look at it. It's wasting money. Time too. Anybody else? Okay, we got some need to know information right here. I'm gonna play this and then see what you think about it. Okay.
So much woo, folks. This is a tough way to end the week if you're long the market. If you're long gold, you're happy, but Dow is losing about 724. The S&P down 113. The NASDAQ down 484. That will do it for us.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. So markets crash over 700 points today after a bad inflation report, more tariff confusion. Oh, and by the way, Republicans really going to raise taxes? That could have done it.
You know, it wasn't so long ago where we would see record-breaking stock market numbers when former President Biden was running things. It seemed that every month the GDP was going higher, jobs were being created, low unemployment, energy independent. And when we used to show you those Fox clips, remember how the hosts like Larry Kudlow, they were almost like upset that they had to report on the good economic news, and they did everything they can to try to spin it in the bad way. Look, Trump is crashing the markets. Trump, Doge, and Musk are involved in a hostile takeover of our government. They're coming for Medicaid. They're coming for Social Security. The way they're firing veterans is horrific in and of itself, and then they're doing it so cruelly and cavalierly. Just every day it's something else. And you know, as we're seeing the markets tank, like what's this administration, I call them a regime, what's this regime doing? They send J.D. Vance to like a military base in Greenland. He couldn't leave the base because they're so unpopular in Greenland because Trump keeps talking about conquering it. And so this is what they're doing right now. And J.D. Vance was asked questions about Signalgate, speaking in Greenland. Like, what am I even saying here? And here's what he said. Let's play it.
I caught my stepson spying on me in the shower.
Okay.
The same American media that covered for the Biden administration after the untimely death and the unnecessary death of 13 brave Americans is really, really interested in forcing the president of the United States to fire someone because of a signal chat, That is not honest behavior from the American media. And if you think you're going to force the president of the United States to fire anybody, you've got another thing coming. President Trump has said it on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, and I'm the vice president saying it here on Friday. We are standing behind our entire national security team.
Celebrating the leaking of our classified information. Let's bring in Democratic Congresswoman Kathleen Clark, Democratic Whip. Congresswoman, showed you that intro. What do you make of this all?
Oh my goodness. Well, this is what happens when you take a economy and decide that you are going to further rig it against everyday working people and focus everything on taking away people's healthcare, veterans benefits, public schools, and give it all to the billionaire class for a tax cut that they won't notice and don't need. And this ping pong of tariff policy, going after our allies like Canada, abandoning Ukraine, taking away, just our place and moral authority in the world. And just, it is just shocking to watch. But of course, we are now seeing consumer confidence at this historic low. And we are then seeing the markets react to this tariff policy. And we haven't even gotten to April 2nd when we're going to be seeing even more. And all of this upheaval hits the very people at home who are struggling to buy groceries, make a rent payment, find childcare. the hardest. Think of that, away from the people of her district. And so they're sending her home, but Elise Stefanik isn't going to save that district from the damage they are doing to the American people and the awakening of voters that they have been had. They may have voted for Donald Trump, but he lied to them and has betrayed them. And so it is a real sign to me that they understand the very real electoral peril that they are in as they move forward. And we are going to continue to draw that contrast, that we are fighting for veterans benefits, for school funding, for feeding hungry kids and seniors in this country. And we are going to do everything to stop them from taking that and further rigging our tax code against the average taxpayer, the 99% of Americans who work for a living.
Okay, any comments on that? Okay, so with that being said, we'll open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions, comments about anything they heard on this channel, in their research they want to talk about, or they want to share it with us, with the people on the line?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. I just wanted to make a comment on that last need to know. They have no understanding of what their people is going to rise up and do. And let me see if they're going to shoot them down. But these people fixing to start some trouble from the people that they supposed to be representing.
Okay. Anybody else?
Shalom. I agree with Brother Henry that these people are the ones who are not in the 1%, and they just relied on the 1% because that's what they are going to be doing. And the ones that's under the 1%, even if they are Hispanic, you know, the other nationality, they're going to be they're the ones going to be in the street. They're the ones going to be protesting. And as they're trying to draw everyone out that is melanated to come out and be in the streets, those are the ones who's going to be doing what they expect the others to be doing. And it's going to get to a point that his little martial law is going to come out on his own people.
Okay. Anybody else got anything?
Hey, shalom, Brother Leonard. I had a question. Do you think like the masses of black people aren't like protesting against all of this stuff because like the masses of black people don't own land and stuff like that? So they're not necessarily affected by everything that's going on. I guess on a day-to-day basis. But do you think that's why people aren't necessarily lashing out? Because it's like I don't know, like black people that we've been oppressed.
Right.
A lot of people. So some people is like, you know, it don't affect us. I know black farmers aren't being affected because they're like, we've never got government assistance.
Right.
So they're not. That's one group of people that don't care about what Trump is doing.
Right. Yeah. I was. It's two things come to mind. The first one is like you were saying. It's a day-to-day thing for us since we've been here, trying to maintain. So this is where we at. They haven't been in this position before. That's why they protesting, because now all of a sudden they find themselves in the same predicament that we've been in since we've been here. The majority of the blacks, and so they squirming. But it's normal for us. And then, like I said, based on the time that we in and prophecy, he also got a spirit on us too, where we're not we're not reacting to a lot of things. And two, I think we at a point where we wore down too. You know, yeah. Anybody else got anything? I want to give everybody a golden nugget. I was asking people to watch that documentary, Bad Faith. I think you need to watch it as soon as you can because it's eye opening. You know, a lot of things when it came to that, but yeah, that's eye opening. You need to watch it. It's Bad Faith. Faith. It's about this what's happening. And it brings everything into perspective around you because there's stuff going on around you not even really paying attention to. But once you watch this, you're gonna realize where it's coming from. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna play this video right here. It's got to do with, I was saying that I was talking about in Genesis chapter 14 when the giant army war. It's actually 10,000 giant army war. That's what it says in the book of Enoch and in the King James it's 10,000 giant war, the war that Lot got caught up in. So I'm gonna play this. Thought it was informative.
The book of Genesis holds mysteries that go beyond what many imagine. Among accounts of creation, genealogies, and divine covenants, there is a nearly forgotten story, a titanic war that shook the earth during the time of Abraham. Now imagine this: 4 kings, leaders of powerful nations, marching into battle against an army of 10,000 giants. Could these be the same Nephilim, the descendants of fallen angels mentioned in ancient texts? Who were these kings? Which civilizations participated in this war? And more importantly, why was this battle erased from history? The truth is even more astonishing than you might think.
Yeah, it was erased because they wiped out they disannulled the book of Enoch, so they had a disannul list. You know, it's right there in the scriptures, but people don't know that it's a giant war, and also it's exposing that giants came through the flood.
Think. Ancestral records speak of the existence of 3 distinct races of giants, each with unique abilities and characteristics. These creatures, described as colossuses towering over any ordinary man, were thought to be the last remnants of a forgotten era. Want to know how this war unfolded and the secrets it hides? Then prepare for a fascinating journey. Like, comment your thoughts, and share this video so more people can discover this hidden story that's been concealed for millennia. The truth is about to be revealed, and it may change everything you know about human history. The Great War in the days of Abraham. 10,000 giants against 4 kings and their armies. The Great Battle, a colossal event lost in the shadows of time. A monumental war fought in the days of Abraham, where mighty kings clashed in a confrontation that would echo through eternity. But there is something many are unaware of. This was not just a war between men. There was something more, something gigantic. The book of Genesis, in its 14th chapter, tells a fascinating account of this ancient war, describing the battle between 4 kings and 5. However, hidden in the lines of this biblical narrative, there is a surprising truth. This war also involved a legion of 10,000 giants. Who were these kings? What civilizations were behind this conflict? And most intriguingly, who were these giants? Where did they come from? And what happened to them after this battle? Now, I invite you to dive into this enigmatic reading of Genesis chapter 14, where the details of this war are revealed. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations.
Yeah, I was telling you a couple of weeks ago that Amraphel, that's Nimrod, his name changed. As a matter of fact, we're going to read that in Joshua chapter 12.
That they made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Birsha, king of Gomorrah, with Shinab, king of Admah, and with Shemeba, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zor. All these were joined together in the vale of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer, and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth Karnaim, and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emims in Shaveh-Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir, unto Elparan, which is by the wilderness. And they returned, and came to En-Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwelt in Hazezon Tamar. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same is Zoar. And they joined battle with them in the vale of Siddim against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings with 5. And the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their victuals, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him, at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale.
There's one single video that's responsible for leading over.
You can see the events narrated are of an impressive magnitude, but there is still much more to be revealed. Now, let's explore the identity of each of these kings, their kingdoms, and the role they played in this battle. And most importantly, let's understand the true secret behind the 3 races of giants who participated in this epic confrontation. The first king mentioned in this enigmatic account is Amraphel. But who was he really? What was his true role in this hidden war of antiquity? In ancient texts, his name appears in different forms: Amraphel in Hebrew, Amraphel in Greek, and Amraphel in Latin. But his origin goes far beyond the words. It is rooted in a legendary land, shrouded in mystery. Shinar. Shinar, a name that resonates through the millennia, is an ancient designation for Sumer, the primordial land of great kings and the first known civilizations. This region, also identified as Babylon, was a center of power and knowledge, where, according to some traditions, the first human empires flourished under the guidance of ancient gods. In the verses of Genesis 14, Amraphel appears as one of the 4 kings who marched to war, alongside Tidal, king of Goyim, Arioch, king of Elasar, and Chedorlaomer, king of Elam. Together, they devastated Sodom and the neighboring cities in the bloody conflict of the valley of Siddim. But there is an even more surprising detail. They faced colossal creatures, beings that conventional history insists on erasing from humanity's memory. But who was Amraphel really? Some scholars believe that this name conceals an ancient Sumerian title. Some suggest that he was Quintarapastu, a Sumerian monarch whose name can be translated as the Great Person. This connection is based on the Sumerian linguistic structure, where the word Quinta would correspond to the An prefix of the name Anraphel in Hebrew, while Rapaltu would have evolved into Rapastu. If this theory is correct, then Amraphel was not just an ordinary king. He may have been one of the last rulers to maintain contact with the forbidden secrets of antediluvian civilizations. And more, his alliance in this war may have been motivated not just by political reasons, but by hidden knowledge dating back to the times of the giants and the Nephilim. Among the great leaders of antiquity, one name stands out from the shadows of history: Chedorlaomer, the enigmatic king of Elam. His dominion extended over the land of the Elamites, one of the oldest Semitic peoples, direct descendants of Shem. The region he ruled corresponds to what we now know as Iran, but his influence stretched far beyond geographical borders. In ancient Elamite records, he is mentioned as Kudur Lagamar, a title suggesting a power and presence that echoed through the corridors of time. But Chedorlaomer did not rule alone. Among the kings forming his alliance, we find Arioch, the sovereign of Elisar. The exact location of his kingdom remains shrouded in mystery. Some historians suggest that Elisar could have been located in Asia Minor, perhaps in Cappadocia or Antioch, lands known for their ancient fortresses and for having been the stage of empires that rose and fell over the centuries. Other theories point to an even more obscure kingdom, lost in the mists of time, where rulers like Arioch played crucial roles in the events that shaped entire civilizations. What do these figures have in common? These are names that emerge from the depths of history, but carry with them a weight that transcends simple mention in ancient texts. They were kings, yes, but also key pieces in a much larger game, a game of power, conquests, and secrets buried beneath the ruins of the past. Tidal, the enigmatic king of Goyim, known as Tidal in the original Hebrew, ruled a land surrounded by mysteries. One intriguing detail about his domain lies in the very word Goyim, which in Hebrew and Phoenician means nations, while in the Semitic context, it can be translated as peoples. This linguistic peculiarity raises a fascinating hypothesis. Tidal may not have been just a king of a single territory, but a sovereign who ruled a confederation of tribes, an alliance of ethnically distinct peoples united under a single domain. This idea fits with the theory put forward by historian David Rohl, who suggests that Tidal might be identified with Tisdal, a Hurrian ruler who controlled the Zagros Mountains, a strategic region between modern-day Iran and Iraq. If this correlation is true, the enigma of Tidal deepens even further, as it would mean that he was at the helm of a multicultural empire at the crossroads of various ancient civilizations. Putting this theory in a broader perspective, the alliance of kings mentioned in ancient accounts presents a complex tapestry of nations. Anraphel, king of Shinar, associated with the Sumerian domain in the heart of Mesopotamia. Arioch, king of Elisar, possibly linked to the region of Cappadocia in Asia Minor. Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, a Semitic monarch, descendant of the Elamites, in the territory that now corresponds to Iran. Tidal, king of Goyim, who, in light of the evidence, may have been a Hurrian leader, commanding a coalition of nomadic peoples and warrior tribes. Among the most enigmatic accounts of the Old Testament is an event of epic proportions, a titanic war between 4 kings and a colossal army of 10,000 giants from 3 distinct races. Chapter 14 of the book of Genesis describes a conflict that transcends mere territorial disputes. This is a battle against beings of superhuman strength, descendants of mysterious lineages whose origin is lost in the mists of time. The 3 giant peoples who faced the 4 kings and their armies were the Rephaim, the Zuzim, and the Emim. Each of these races had unique characteristics, but they all shared something in common: their terrifying stature and reputation as invincible warriors. Rephaim, the Colossus of Astaroth Karnaim. The first giants mentioned in the narrative are the Rephaim, or Rephates, an ancient race of imposing beings whose massive bodies could reach up to 5 meters in height. They were described as colossi, entities whose mere presence instilled terror. In Astaroth Karnaim, the Rephaim were the first to confront the armies of the 4 kings. The battle was fierce, as the giants' enormous size and strength made it nearly impossible to bring them down. However, after a brutal clash, the Rephaim were defeated, marking the first step in the king's campaign to conquer the lands inhabited by these titanic beings. The identity of the Rephaim remains shrouded in mystery. Some believe they were descendants of the Nephilim, the giants mentioned in Genesis 6, possibly survivors of the Great Flood. Zuzim, the race, hidden in the shadows of time. The Zuzim were the second race of giants mentioned in the text. Unlike the Rephaim, The Bible reveals little about their origin or physical characteristics. They appear enigmatically as a monstrous people who inhabited the region of Ham. Their name quickly disappears from the scriptures, as if their presence was a secret that few should know. Led by Chedorlaomer, the four kings marched against the Zuzim, and a new massacre ensued. The brutality of the war against these colossal beings echoed through the generations, but few records detail the true extent of their strength. Were they such terrifying warriors that their existence had to be erased from historical records, or were they the last survivors of a forbidden lineage whose memory was deliberately suppressed? Emim, the monstrous guardians of the lost lands. The third race of giants faced by the four armies were the Emim. The very meaning of their name, in ancient Hebrew and Aramaic, indicated their terrifying nature. The monstrous, or the dreadful. Their territory stretched over strategic regions, being mentioned as inhabitants of lands through which the Israelites passed during the Exodus. The Emim were compared to the legendary
Deuteronomy chapter 2.
Anakim, another race of giants mentioned in the Bible. The Moabites considered them equivalent to the Rephaim, suggesting that they belonged to the same lineage of ancient titans. Their tusks, their colossal hands, and their massive bodies instilled fear even in the most well-trained armies. But despite their devastating strength, they too were brought down by the coalition led by Chedorlaomer. The Bible does not provide detailed accounts of this war, but its significance is undeniable. In any case, the war against the 10,000 giants marked one of the most extraordinary moments in the hidden history of humanity. A battle not only for territorial supremacy, but for control of a world where giants walked among men until they were...
Okay. Any comments on that? What you think?
Shalom, brother Uni. I thought it was the war of 100,000 giants.
Well, I was looking at that, the number, the way they wrote it down on the video. It's the name of the video is The Great War in the Days of Abraham, right? Then it's got let me see, 4 zeros. So if you put a apostrophe behind that second zero, it's 10,000 giants. You know, so that's why I was saying, that's why I said 10,000. Yeah.
Heard that, yes, sir. Cause and I was only asking cause in that that book you had me get a while ago, that book of Og,
Right.
and there it say 100,000. So that I was just
Right.
asking.
So in that book, it's got another zero, right?
Right, yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So this one only got 4 zeros. So yeah, I'm thinking it probably was 100,000, but right here it says it's got 4 zeros, so that's why I said 10,000. Yeah. Anybody else got any comments on that? Okay. Yeah. So nobody had no comments. We're gonna go to our topic for discussion. Like I said, I was gonna expose some more information on exposing that 400-year prophecy that people was talking about in Genesis 15 that is tied to the day. But I want to read Joshua chapter 12 and 13 before we do that. You want to read chapter 12, Michelle? And then I'll read 13.
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. Chapter 12. So this chapter 12, it adds some more information to what we were just talking about. And it also identifies Nimrod.
Yes, sir.
As homicide. Go ahead.
Joshua chapter 12. And when the king heard the words of Abram, he ordered him to be put into prison. And Abram was 10 days in prison. And at the end of those days, the king ordered that all the kings, princes, and governors of different provinces and the sages should come before him. And they sat before him. And Abram was still in the house of confinement. And the king said to the princes and sages, have you heard what Abram the son of Terah has done to his father? Thus has he done to him, and I ordered him to be brought before me. And thus has he spoken. His heart did not misgive him, neither did he stir in my presence. And behold, now
So
he is
who's this?
concerned.
So who is this king? Who is this king right here? They talk about in 1, 2, and 3. Anybody got any idea who that king is?
Is the that should be Nimrod, right?
Right, it's Nimrod. It's Nimrod, right? Keep that in mind. Keep going.
Okay, verse 4,
Verse 3.
Jasher 12 and 4. And therefore decided what judgment is due to this man who revealed the king, who spoke and did all the things that you heard. And they all answered the king, saying, the man who revealed the king should be hanged upon a tree. But having done all the things that he said, and having despised our gods, he must therefore be burned to death. For this is the law in this matter. If it pleaseth the king to do this, let him order his servants to kindle a fire both night and day in thy brick furnace, and then we will cast this man into it. And the king did so, and he commanded his servants that they should prepare a fire for 3 days and 3 nights in the king's furnace that is in Casdim.
Right.
And the king ordered them to take Abram from prison and bring him out to be burned.
Okay, so hold on. So we see right here what you just read. We see what JC started getting developed. Look at verse 5. And they all answered the king, saying, the man who revileth the king shall be hanged on a tree. You see that? That's what like I said, they developed the story of JC. Here goes part of it right here. He should be hanging on a tree. And then not only that, long before Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were put in the furnace, Abraham was put in the furnace by Nimrod. So that's going to come into play in a minute. Keep going.
Yes, sir. Verse 7. And all the king's servants, princes, lords, governors, and judges, and all the inhabitants of the land, about 900,000 men, stood opposite the furnace to see Abram. And all the women and little ones crowded upon the roofs and towers to see what was doing with Abram. And they all stood together at a distance. And there was not a man left that did not come on that day to behold the scene. And when
like
Abram was exactly, that's what they, yes, make me think of when they used to do it in front of the courts, the courthouse, lynch the people. Right. Yes. Verse 9. And when Abram was come, the conjurers of the king and the sages saw Abram, and they cried out to the king, saying, our sovereign Lord, surely this is the man whom we know to have been the child at whose birth the great star swallowed the 4 stars, which we declared to the king now 50 years since. 10. And behold,
again.
Sir.
There go JC again. We saw up there, they say hang on the tree. Now we see where the star came from in the sky, all over coming from Abraham. Keep going.
10. And behold, now his father has also transgressed thy commands and mocked thee by bringing thee another child, which thou didst kill. And when the king heard their words, he was exceedingly wroth, and he ordered Terah to be brought before him. And the king said, hast thou heard what the conjurers have spoken? Now tell me truly, how didst thou? And if thou shalt speak truth, thou shalt be acquitted. And seeing that the king's anger was so much kindled, Terah said to the king, my lord and king, thou hast heard the truth, and what the sages have spoken is right. And the king said, How couldst thou do this thing to transgress my orders and to give me a child that thou didst not beget, and to take value for him? 14. And Terah answered the king, because my tender feelings were excited for my son at that time, and I took a son of my handmaid, and I brought him to the king. And the king said, who advised thee to do this? Tell me, do not hide aught from me, and then thou shalt not die. And Terah was greatly terrified in the king's presence. And he said to the king, it was Haran, my eldest son, who advised me to this. And Haran was in those days that Abram was born 32 years old. But
Okay,
Haran did.
Who was Haran?
That's Lot father, right?
That's Lot daddy. Like I said, remember, he told them, get thee from thy kindred.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tell him to take nobody with him. This is why Abraham took Lot with him, because he felt responsible for Haran getting killed.
Mm.
This Haran right here. Keep going.
But
17.
Haran did 17, yes, sir. But Haran did not advise his father to anything, for Terah said this to the king in order to deliver his soul from the king, for he feared greatly. And the king said to Terah, Haran, thy son, who advised thee to this, shall die through fire with Abram, for the sentence of death is upon him from having rebelled against the king's desire in doing this thing. And Haran at that time felt inclined to follow the ways of Abram, but he kept it within himself. And Haran said,
So right there, this big, because of, remember, they was displaced. Canaan, when he stole the land, they got displaced down into this area where they ended up where Nimrod was at. So Abraham, Terah got all these boys, but remember, Abraham went to and stayed with Shem, right? Noah and Shem, when they were still alive, right? And Noah, Shem taught him who the Lord of hosts was. So Haran don't know the Lord of hosts. Haran don't know the Lord of hosts, but Abraham do. So right into the day, the feed the two baskets. It's a basket that know who the Lord is, and it's a basket that don't. But check it out. Check the results out, the end results. You're on 19, right?
yes, sir. And Haran said in his heart, behold, now the king has seized Abram on account of these things which Abram did. And it shall come to pass that if Abram prevail over the king, I will follow him. But if the king prevail, I will go after the king. And when Terah had spoken this to the king concerning Haran, his son, the king ordered Haran to be seized with Abram. And they brought them both, Abram and Haran his brother, to cast them into the fire, and all the inhabitants.
Two baskets of feed. Too bad. Go keep going.
Okay, and all of the inhabitants of the land, and the king's servants and princes, and all the women and little ones were there, standing that day over them. 22. And the king's servants took Abram and his brother, and they stripped them of all their clothes, excepting their lower garments which were upon them. And they bound their hands and feet with linen cords. And the servants of the king lifted them up and cast them both into the furnace. And the Lord loved Abram, and he had compassion over him. And the Lord came down and delivered Abram from the fire, and he was not burned. But all the cords with which they bound him were burned, while Abram remained and walked about the fire. And Haran died when they had cast him into the fire, and he was burned to ashes, for his heart was not perfect with the Lord. And those men who cast him into the fire, the flame of the fire spread over them, and they were burned, and 12 men of them died.
So
27.
Two men was put in the furnace, Abram and Haran. Abraham knew who the Lord was. Haran didn't. Haran burned up. So just how important it is in these last days to know who the Lord is, who our Redeemer is. See that?
Yes, sir.
Keep going.
27. And Abram walked in the midst of the fire 3 days and 3 nights, and all the servants of the king saw him walking in the fire. And they came and told the king, saying, Behold, we have seen Abram walking about in the midst of the fire. And even the lower garments which are upon him are not burned, but the cord with which he was bound is burned. And when the king heard their words, his heart fainted, and he would not believe them. So he sent other faithful princes to see this matter, and they went and saw it and told it to the king. And the king rose to go and see it. And he saw Abram walking to and fro in the midst of the fire. And he saw Haran's body burned, and the king wondered greatly. And the king ordered Abram to be taken out of the fire. And his servants approached to take him out, and they could not, for the fire was round about, and the flame exceeding toward them from the furnace. And the king's servants fled from it, and the king rebuked them, saying, Make haste and bring Abram out of the fire, that you shall not die. And the servants of the king again approached to bring Abram out. And the flames came upon them and burned their faces, so that 8 of them died. And when the king saw that his servants could not approach the fire, lest they should be burned, the king called to Abram, O servant of the God who is in heaven, go forth from amidst the fire, and come hither before me. And Abram hearkened to the voice of the king, and he went forth from the fire and came and stood before the king. And when Abram came out of the king, and all his servants saw Abram coming before the king with his lower garments upon him, for they were not burned, but the cord with which he was bound was burned. 34. And the king said to Abram, How is it that thou was not burned in the fire? And Abram said to the king, The God of heaven and earth, in whom I trust, and who has all in whom I trust, and who has all in his power, he delivered me from the fire into which thou didst cast me. And Haran, the brother of Abram, was burned to ashes, and they sought for his body, and they found it consumed. And Haran was 82 years old, which he died in the fire of Casdim. And the king, princes, and inhabitants of the land, seeing that Abram was delivered from the fire, they came and bowed down to Abram. 38. And Abram said to them, Do not bow down to me, but bow down to the God of the world, who made you, and serve him, and go in his ways. For it is he who delivered me from out of the fire, and it is he who created the souls and spirits of all men, and formed man in his mother's womb, and brought him forth into the world. And it is he who will deliver those who trust in him from all pain. And
So
this
who
thing,
came? Who delivered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego out of the fire furnace?
the Lord of hosts.
It tells you an angel came down, right?
Yes, sir.
So who you think delivered Abraham? Same angel, right?
Same angel. Yes, sir.
Keep going. Keep going.
39. And this thing seemed very wonderful in the eyes of the king and princes, that Abram was saved from the fire, and that Haran was burned. And the king gave Abram many presents, and he gave him his 2 head servants from the king's house. The name of one was Oni, and the name of the other Eleazar. And
So
all the
this how Abraham got Eliezer.
okay.
You know, this who made when Abraham in Genesis 15. Remember when he prayed in Genesis 15 for a son? He said, I don't have no seed. All I have is Eliezer, my head servant. I don't have nobody out of my loins. All I got is my lead servant, Eliezer. I don't have no son. That's what he's talking about right here. This is who he sent to go get Rebecca. Keep going.
Verse 40. And all the king's princes and servants gave Abram many gifts of silver and gold and pearl. And the king and his princes sent him away, and he went in peace. And Abram went forth from the king in peace, and many of the king's servants followed him, and about 300 men joined him. And
They go to
Abram,
giants. That's the giants.
that's the
Remember,
giant. Okay.
you got 300 giants. David got giants with him. Judah had giants with him. Keep going.
Okay, 42. And Abram returned on that day and went to his father's house, he and the men that followed him. And Abram served the Lord his God all the days of his life, and he walked in his ways and followed his law. And from that day forward, Abram inclined the hearts of the sons of men to serve the Lord.
Sound like Melchizedek to me. Keep going.
44. And at that time, Nahor and Abram took unto themselves wives, the daughters of their brother Haran. The wife of Nahor was Milcah, and the name of Abram's wife was Sarah. And Sarah, wife of Abram, was barren. She had no offspring in those days. And at the expiration of 2 years from Abram's going out of the fire, that is in the 52nd year of his life, behold, King Nimrod sat in Babel upon the throne, and the king fell asleep and dreamed that he was standing with his troops and host in a valley opposite the king's furnace. 46. And he lifted up his eyes and saw a man in the likeness of Abram coming forth from the furnace, and that he came and stood before the king with his drawn sword, and then sprang to the king with his sword. When the king fled from the man, for he was afraid, and while he was running, the man threw an egg upon the king's head, and the egg became a great river. 47. And the king dreamed that all his troops sank in that river and died. And the king took flight with 3 men who were before him, and he escaped. And the king looked at these men, and they were clothed in princely dresses, as the garments of kings, and had the appearance of majesty of kings. And while they were running, the river again turned to an egg before the king, and there came forth from the egg, I lost my spot. Sorry, y'all. And there came forth from the egg a young bird, which came before the king and flew at his head and plucked out the king's eyes. And the king
Hold
was.
up right there. Hold up right there. Go back to 47. It says, and the king dreamed. So this Nimrod, right? This before the Tower of Babel. So what we're looking at is Abraham was the reason the Tower of Babel was destroyed. But anyway, it says, and king dreamed, and the king dreamed that all his troops sank in the river and died, and the king took flight, right? Check it out. The king took flight. Remember, he saw a man coming. That was the Lord of hosts coming at him with a sword. Now, and the king dreamed that all his troops sank in the river and died, and the king took flight. And 3 men, see that? 3 men who were before him, and he escaped. See, he escaped the Tower of Babel. But anyway, he saw the Lord of hosts and 3 other men with him. They go to 4 angels.
Mm-hmm.
4 angels. We see always coming down. Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael. So the Lord of hosts is there and 3 other men with him. Then 48, the king looked. See, he's telling you this for a reason. Nimrod looked at these men, and they were clothed in princely dresses as the garments of kings, and they had appearance of majesty of kings. There's these 3 other 3 angels. Go ahead.
Verse 50. Yes, sir. And the king was grieved at the sight, and he awoke out of his sleep, and his spirit was agitated, and he felt a great terror. And in the morning the king rose from his couch in fear, and he ordered all the wise men and magicians to come before him, when the king related his dream to them. And a wise servant of the king, whose name was Anuki, answered the king, saying, this is nothing else but the evil of Abram and his seed, which will spring up against my lord and king in the latter days. And behold, the day will come when Abram and his seed and the children of his household will war with my king, and they will smite all the king's host and his troops. And as to what thou hast said concerning 3 men which thou didst see, like unto thyself, and which did escape, this means that only thou will escape with the 3 kings from the kings of the earth, who will be with thee in battle. 55. And that which thou sawest of the river, which turned to an egg as at first, in the young bird plucking out thine eye, this means nothing else but the seed of Abram, which will slay the king in latter days. This is my king's dream, and this is its interpretation, and the dream is true, and the interpretation which thy servant has given thee is right. Now therefore, my king, surely thou knowest that it is now 52 years since thy sages saw this at the birth of Abram. And if my king will suffer Abram to live in the earth, it will be to the injury of my Lord and King. For all the days that Abram liveth, neither thou nor thy kingdom will be established. For this was known formerly as at his birth. And why will not my king slay him, that his evil may be kept from thee in latter days? 58. And Nimrod hearkened to the voice of Anuki, and he sent some of his servants in secret to go and seize Abram and bring him forth the king to suffer death. 59. And Eleazar, Abram's servant, whom the king had given him, was at that time in the presence of the king, and he heard what Anuki had advised the king, and what the king had said to cause Abram's death. 60. And Eleazar said to Abram, hasten, rise up and save thy soul, that thou mayest not die through the hands of the king. For thus did he see in a dream concerning thee, and thus did Anuki interpret it. And thus also did Anuki advise the king concerning thee. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Eleazar, and Abram hastened and ran for safety to the house of Noah and his son Shem. And he concealed himself there and found a place of safety. And the king's servants came to Abram's house to seek him, but they could not find him. And they searched throughout the country, and he was not to be found. And they went and searched in every direction, and he was not to be met with. And when the king's servants could not find Abram, they returned to the king. But the king's anger against Abram was stilled, and they did not find him. And the king drove from his mind this matter concerning Abram. And Abram was concealed in Noah's house for 1 month, until the king had forgotten this matter. But Abram was still afraid of the king. And terror came to see Abram, his son, secretly in the house of Noah. And terror was very great in the eyes of the king. 64. And Abram said to his father, doest thou not know that the king thinketh to slay me and annihilate my name from the earth by the advice of his wicked counselors? Now, whom hast thou here, and what hast thou in this land? Arise, let us go together to the land of Canaan, that we may be delivered from his hand, lest thou perish also through him in the latter days. 66. Doest thou not know, or hast thou not heard, that it is not through love that Nimrod giveth thee all this honor, but it is only for his benefit that he bestoweth all this good upon thee? And if he do unto thee greater good than this, surely these are only vanities of the world. For wealth and riches cannot avail in the day of wrath and anger. Now therefore hearken to my voice, and let us arise and go to the land of Canaan, out of the reach of injury from Nimrod, and serve thou the Lord who created thee in the earth, and it will be well with thee, and cast away all the vain things which thou pursuest. 69. And Abram ceased to speak when Noah and his son Shem answered Terah, saying, true is the word which Abram hath said unto thee. And Terah hearkened to the voice of his son Abram, and Terah did all that Abram said. for this was from the Lord, and the king, and for this was from the Lord, that the king should not cause Abram's death. That was Jasher chapter 12.
So we see right here, this was left out. A big old gap in the story. Like I said, long before Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was put in the fire furnace, Abraham was. And then this is during the time of Tower of Babel. This is what caused the Tower of Babel to come down with Abraham. They tried to, what they did to Abraham. That's why the tower came down. And then the guy told him, and the dream was interpreted that Nimrod was going to escape Babel. That's who Almafal is. He lived after the Tower of Babel. Okay, but another thing I want to show too is that it says, okay, and 67, and if he doeth unto thee greater good than this, surely these are the only vanities of the world, for wealth and riches cannot avail in the day of anger. Now therefore hearken unto my voice, and let us arise and go to the land of Canaan. See that? And out of the reach of the envy of Nimrod, and serve thou the Lord. See that? Who created thee in the earth, and it will be well with thee, and cast away all the vain things which are thou pursued. And the verses I was going to is 69. Abraham ceased to speak, and when Noah and his son, see that? Noah and his son Shem, okay, answered terror. So where Ham at? Where Japhet is? They ain't none of his sons. See that? And then Nimrod is from Shem. Supposedly, Nimrod is out of Ham lineage. He supposed to be, he kin to, what they told us, he kin to Noah. See right here, the way this coming off, he don't have no connection with Ham. That's where Nimrod from. Nimrod trying to kill Abraham out of Shem lineage. Ain't none of his son. Read it again. He says, and Abraham ceased to speak. And when Noah and his son, Shem, answered terror, saying, true is the word which Abraham has said unto thee. And like I said, Nimrod out of Ham. They ain't no kin. You trying to kill him. Same with Japhet. Okay. Anybody got any questions, comments on that chapter 12 of Joshua? Okay. We'll read 13. Says, and Terah took his son Abraham and his grandson Lot, and the son of Haran, and Sarah, his daughter-in-law, the wife of his son Abraham, and all the souls of his household, and went with them from Ur to cast them to the land of Canaan. And when they came as far as the land of Haran, see, this is what Terah died at, right here, when you go to King James. Terah, right? Haran then remained there, for it was exceedingly good land for pastures, and for the significant extent for those who accompanied them. And the people of the land of Haran saw that Abraham was good and upright with God and men, and that the Lord his God was with him. And some of the people of the land of Haran came and joined Abraham, and he taught them. They go Melchizedek, and he taught them the instructions of the Lord and his ways. And these men remained with Abraham in his house, and they abhorred to him. And Abraham remained in the land 3 years. And at the extension of 3 years, the Lord appeared to Abraham and said unto him, I am the Lord who brought thee forth from Ur of Chaldean, and delivered thee from the hands of all thy enemies. And now therefore, if thou wilt hearken unto my voice, and keep my commandments, my statutes, and my laws, then will I cause thy enemies to fall before thee, and I will multiply thy seed like the stars of heaven, and I will send my blessings upon all the works of thy hands, and thou shalt lack nothing. Arise now, take thy wife and all belonging to thee, and go to the land of Canaan and remain there. And I will there be unto thee for a God, and I will bless thee. And Abraham arose and took his wife and all the belonging to him, and he went to the land of Canaan as the Lord had told him. And Abraham was 50 years old when he went from Haran. Well, check this out, because this be verse 4. And now, therefore, this is the Lord of hosts, Michael. And now, therefore, if thou wilt hearken to my voice, right? Go to Exodus 23 and 20, and keep my commandments and my statutes and my laws. Now, check this out. This can't be the Yahweh. Then will I cause thy enemies to fall before thee, and I will multiply thy seed like the stars of heaven, and I will send my blessings upon all the works of thy hand, and thou shalt lack nothing. Go up to verse 3. Abraham remained in the land there 3 years, and the expiration of 3 years, the Lord appeared unto Abraham and said to him, I am the Lord, right? This Lord of hosts, who brought thee up forth from Ur of Chaldeans, and I delivered thee from all thy enemies. And now, therefore, if thou wilt hearken to my voice, keep my commandments, statutes, and my laws, then will I cause thy enemies to fall before thee, and I will multiply thy seed like the stars of heaven, and I will send my blessings upon all the works of thy hands, and thou shalt lack nothing. So, 6, and Abraham came to the land of Canaan and dwelt in the midst of the city, and he there pitched his tent among the children of Canaan, the inhabitants of the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abraham when he came to the land of Canaan, and he said unto him, This is the land which I gave unto thee, and unto thy seed after thee forever. And I will make thy seed like the stars of heaven, and I will give unto thee I will give unto thy seed for an inheritance the land which thou seest. And Abraham built an altar in the place where God, we noticed the angel unto the Lord, in the place of where God had spoken to him. See that? Yahweh ain't speaking to him. And Abraham there called upon the name of the Lord, right? And at that time, at the end of 3 years, Abraham dwelling in the land of Canaan, in that year, Noah died. See that? This is when Noah died, which was the 58th year of the life of Abraham. And all the days that Noah lived were 950 years, and he died. And Abraham dwelt in the land of Canaan, he and his wife, and all belonging to him, and all those that accompanied him, together with those that joined him from the people of the land. But Nahor, Abraham's brother, and Terah his father, and Lot, the son of Haran, and all belonging to them dwelt in Haran. And in the 5th year of Abraham's dwelling in the land of Canaan, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah and all the cities of the plains revolt from Kadmon, king of Elam, for all the kings of the cities of the plains had served Kadmon for 12 years and given him a yearly tax. But in those days, in the 13th year, they rebelled against him. And in the 10th year of Abraham dwelling in the land of Canaan, there was war between Nimrod, king of Shinar, and Kadmon, king of Elam. And Nimrod came to fight with Kadmon. Check it out. Fight with Kadmon, and he subdued him. So this Kadmon subdued Nimrod. They don't tell us that in the King James. Well, Kadmon was at that time one of the princes of the host of Nimrod. So he was under Nimrod, right? And when all the people at the tower were were dispersed, and those that remained were also scattered upon the face of the earth, Kadmon went to the land of Elam, and he reigned over it, and he rebelled against his Lord. He rebelled against Nimrod. He subdued Nimrod. Now 14. And in those days, when Nimrod saw that the cities of the plain had rebelled, he came with a pride and anger to war with Chedorlaomer, and Nimrod assembled all his princes and subjects, about 700,000 men, and went against Chedorlaomer. And Chedorlaomer went out to meet him with 5,000 men, and they prepared for battle in the Valley of Babel. See that? The Valley of Babel, which is between Elam and Shinar. All these kings fought there. Nimrod and his people were smitten. See that? Before the people of Chedorlaomer. And there fell from Nimrod men about 600,000. And Midraon, the king's son, fell amongst them. So Nimrod's son died. And Nimrod fell and returned in shame. See that? And Nimrod fell and returned in shame and disgrace to his land, to Shinar. He was under subjection to Chedorlaomer for a long time. So now this dude in Chedorlaomer, he was under Nimrod, not Nimrod under him. So Nimrod didn't die at the Tower of Babel. And Nimrod fell and fled and returned in shame and disgrace to his land, and he was under subjection to Chedorlaomer for a long time. And Chedorlaomer returned to his land and sent princes of his host to the kings that dwelt around him, to Ararat, king of Elah, these kings in Genesis 14, and sent princes of his host to the kings that dwelt around him, and Ararat, king of Elah, and Tidal, king of Gelon. Go to 14, you'll see the same name. And they made a covenant with them, and they were all obedient to his commands, Nimrod included. Nimrod is on the fall. And it was in the 15th year of Abraham dwelling in the land of Canaan, which is the 17th year of the 70th year of the life of Abraham. And the Lord appeared to Abraham in that year, and he said, I am the Lord who brought thee out of Ur of Casbin to give thee this land for an inheritance. Now therefore walk before me, be perfect, keep my commandments, for to thee and to thy seed I will give this land for an inheritance, from the river of Mizraim, Egypt, to the great river Euphrates. And thou shalt come, right, okay, and thou shalt come to thy father in peace, and in good old age, and in the fourth generation shall return here in this land and shall inherit it forever. See that? Not to America. They're going to return to the land of Canaan and inherit it, right? This is the same thing that in Genesis 15, the prophecy. And Abraham built an altar, and he called upon the name of the Lord, who appeared to him, and he brought up sacrifices upon the altar to the Lord. At that time, Abraham returned, went to Haran to see his father and his mother and his father's household. And Abraham and his son's wife and all belonging to him returned to Haran. And Abraham dwelt in Haran 5 years. And many of the people of Haran, about 72 men, followed Abraham, and Abraham taught them the instructions of the Lord and his ways, Melchizedek, and he taught them to know the Lord. In those days, the Lord appeared to Abraham in Haran, and he said unto him, Behold, I spoke unto thee these 20 years back, saying, Go forth from thy land, from the birthplace, and from thy father's house, to the land which I have shown thee to give thee and to thy children. For there is that land which I have shown thee to give it to thee and to thy children. For there is that land I will bless thee, make thee a great nation, and make thy name great, and in thee shall the families of the earth be blessed. Now therefore arise, go forth from this place, thou and thy wife, and all belong to thee, also everyone born in the house, and all souls that have made in a run, and bring them out with thee here, and arise and return to the land of Canaan. And Abraham arose, took his wife Sarah, all belonging to him, and all that were born to him in his house, and the sons which they had made in Haran, and they came out to go to the land of Canaan. And Abraham went and returned to the land of Canaan, according to the words of the Lord. And Lot, the son of his brother Haran, went with him. And Abraham was 75 years old when he went forth from Haran to return to the land of Canaan. And he came to the land of Canaan, according to the word of the Lord, to Abraham. And he pitched his tent and dwelt in the plains of Mamre. And with him was Lot, his brother's son, and all belonging to him. And the Lord again appeared to Abram and said, to thy seed will I give this land. And he there built an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him, which is still to this day in the plains of Mamre. Okay, any comments? Questions? Okay, so we see right here all the missing information is in the book of Joshua. They didn't sidebar. Okay, let me see what's up. Okay, yeah, they didn't sidebar the conversation. I mean the story. Any questions or comments? Okay.
Shalom.
Go ahead.
Yes, Brother Leonard, again, and me not knowing, I have just learned so much. I never knew of the existence of any of these books. So just thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So now, like I was saying, I was gonna deal with the how that they're saying the 400 years 400-year prophecy is tied to America. So I was explaining to you, you go to he told Jeremiah told them that they was going to be in Babylon, right, for 70 years. And so what people don't know is they being tracked. The 70 years is being tracked. They in the scriptures, but because of, like I said, you dealing with JC, you don't see that he's those 70 years is being tracked. I want to show you that. So you go to Jeremiah. I mean, not Jeremiah, but Ezekiel. We get it. You go to Ezekiel, yeah, chapter 1. Ezekiel chapter 1, right? And so Jeremiah told them they were going to Babylon for 70 years. And so it says in Ezekiel chapter 1, now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among, this Ezekiel, I was among the captives, they in captivity in Babylon, by the river Kedar, that the heavens were open, and I saw a vision. Now here goes, this was the 70 years started being counted at. Verse 2, in the 5th day of the month, which was he telling you right here, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's captivity. So the count started when the son of David went into captivity in Babylon. So they already 5 years right here. And so you go to 2 Kings, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2 Kings. Let me see. 2 Kings, I think it's 32. Let me see. Well, 2 Kings 23 and verse 36. Let me see. No, that ain't it. It's 2 Kings 25 and 27. And it came to pass, right? In the 7th and 30th year of the captivity of Jehoiakim. Now we 37 years. Jeremiah told them they going into captivity for 70 years. Here go the count. We looking at the count. And it came to pass in the 7th and 30th year of the captivity of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, and evil Murdoch, king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, did lift up the head of Jehoiakim. right? King of Judah. So in right here, 37 years in passed. We got what, 23 more years, 33 more years to be in Babylon. So then it says 28, and he spake kindly to him, set his throne above the thrones of the kings that were with him in Babylon, and changed his prison garment. And he said, eat bread continuously before him all the days of thy life. And his allowance was a continual allowance given him of the king and a daily rate for every day, all the days of his life. So this where Zerubbabel came from. That's how Zerubbabel and David lineage through this right here, this Jehoiakim. So let's go to Jeremiah right quick. I want to show you something else. Then I go to show you the count. There's a count, same way they count right here. They counting over there for the 400 years for the prophecy in Ezekiel. I mean in Genesis chapter 15 that they said 400 years. So okay, let me see, I lost my track. Yeah, Jeremiah. So if you go to Jeremiah right quick, show you how this is how the Lord of hosts works. We ain't got nothing to worry about. So you go to, I'm thinking 39, Jeremiah 39. Yeah, 39. Yeah, so here you go right here. It's the fall. It's the fall of Jeremiah told them they're going into captivity for 70 years, right? So we in Jeremiah 39. It's the fall of Jerusalem. In the 9th month, in the 9th year, Zedekiah, king of Judah, in the 10th month. Hold on, let me see if I'm in the right place. No, this ain't it. Okay. Maybe in 2 Kings. Give me a minute. Go to 2 Kings. Okay. One minute. Okay. Yeah, here you go. It's 2 Kings 25. It's the fall of Jerusalem. And it came to pass in the 9th month, right? In the 9th month, 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, he and all his hosts came up against. No, here you go. My bad. I'm tripping. It's 2 Kings 24 and verse 8. Jehoiakim, right here. Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. And his mother name was Nehasha, the daughter of Ethan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done. And at that time, here you go. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city and his servants and besieged it. And then here you go. Jehoiakim the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon. Look at this. He, his mother, his servants, his princesses, and his officers, and the king of Babylon took him in the 11th year. This is when the count started. In the 11th year of his reign, and he carried out this all the treasure of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house, and he cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon, king of Babylon, a king of Israel had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. And he carried away all of Jerusalem. This is the first wave. I told you it was 3 waves. He carried away all of Jerusalem, all the princes, all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained, say the poorest and sorts of the people of the land. Now here you go right here, 15. And he carried away Jehoiakim, right? This is where Zerubbabel came from. He carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives. See that? It's the hand of the Lord. So because he got a covenant with David, he gonna always have a seed. Your seed ain't gonna never go away. So he not only did he bring Jehoiakim to Babylon, but he brought all his wives and his officers and the mighty men of the land. Those carried he into captivity from Babylon. And then we just saw that 37 years later, evil Murdoch came and brought Jehoiakim out of prison, cleaned him up, and he sat at his table and ate. So he had all his wives right there with him. That's how David lineage was continuing on. But I was showing you how in the scriptures, he told them 70 years and you tracking it. But people reading over it. You can track it for 70 years. So this other same thing with this other one. We're gonna go to Jasher, right? And I'm gonna read, first I'll read the prophecy, right? The prophecy says, Genesis 15. Negroes want to say that these Hebrew Christians that the 400-year prophecy is over here, right? So it says, I started 11. And when the fowls came down from, this is Genesis 15 and 11, this is the prophecy. When the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abraham, the Lord of hosts, know of a surety thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. They say that happened over here, right? 1619, 2019. Also, that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards I shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy father. Abraham gonna go to thy fathers in peace, and thou shalt be buried at a good old age. Then 16. But in the 4th generation, they shall come hither again, and they're in the land of Canaan. That's what we just been reading. We were just reading this. They in the land of Canaan. He says, in the 4th generation, they shall come hither again to the land of Canaan, not America. For the iniquity of the Amorites. The Amorites is over there in the Middle East. Ain't no Amorites in America. And it says, and the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun had went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed through between these pieces. So now here we go. Like I said, you can track it and kill that lie. So if you go to, I'm in the book of Jasher, and you go to, let me get it. So Abraham just died. We just read it. Abraham passed away, right? So now let's look at it. I mean, okay. I'm in chapter 63 of Jasher, and I'm at verse 3. All right, it says, "In the hand of all Egypt," see that? Not America, and the hand of all the Egyptians became more grievous in those days against the children of Israel, and the Egyptians injured the Israelites until the children of Israel were weary of their lives on account of the Egyptians. Now here you go. Notice what it said over there when we was dealing with the 70 years. It came to pass. So he's talking about a prophecy, and right here, this is the prophecy that he told Abraham in Genesis 15. And it came to pass in those days, in the 102 years of Israel going down into Egypt. That's what they had. They had 102 years of the prophecy, of the 400-year prophecy, right here. See that? And it came to pass in those days in the 102 years of Israel going down into Egypt, that the Pharaoh king of Egypt died. So they tracking the prophecy. It ain't got nothing to do with America. So go to okay, give me a minute. Go to 95. We'll go to chapter 66. And in the 125th year of Israel going down into Egypt, all the Egyptians saw their counsel did not succeed against Israel, but that they increased and grew. And the land of Egypt and the land of Goshen were filled with the children of Israel. So we tracking the prophecy. Now we at 125 years, right? Then you go, keep going. And it says, let me get it. Now we in chapter 73 of Jasher. It says, in the 55th year of the reign of the Pharaoh, right, king of Egypt, that in the 157th year of Israel going down into Egypt, they go to 157th year, tracking it. Same way they did with the 70 years and when they went to Babylon, right? So it says that in the 157th year of Israelites going down into Egypt, it's referring back to the prophecy in Daniel in Genesis 15. So they had 157 years. Now keep going. Okay. And then I'm right here, I'm in Joshua 75. At that time, in the 180th year, 180 years of Israelites going down into Egypt, there went forth from Egypt valiant men. See that? These from Ephraim, 30,000 on foot from the children of Israel, who were all of the tribe of Joseph, of the children of Ephraim, son of Joseph. Now here you go. For they said the period was completed, which the Lord had appointed to the children of Israel in times of old, Genesis 15, which he had spoken to Abraham. We had 180 years right here. Okay, we'll keep going. Then go over to the same chapter, verse 17. For this evil was from the Lord against the children of Ephraim, for they transgressed the word of the Lord in going forth from Egypt before the period had arrived, which the Lord in days of old had appointed to Israel. That's the prophecy. Genesis 15. This ain't got nothing to do with America, right? So here we go. And then we go to chapter 76, verse 12. So Moses went forth from the land of Cush, and he ruling over the people in Cush. So Moses went forth from the land of Cush and went home, ceased to reign over Cush. And Moses was 66 years old when he went out of the land of Cush. For the thing is from the Lord, for the period had arrived. See that? The period had arrived, which he had appointed in days of old, Genesis 15, to bring forth Israel from the affliction. That's the affliction that's in Genesis 15 of the children of Ham. See that? So, see if we got anything else. That was, yeah. Okay, keep going. So then you get over here and it says, 78 and 16, and the Lord was jealous of his people and his inheritance, and he heard their voice, and he resolved to take them out of the affliction of Egypt, to give them the land of Canaan for a possession, like I just read. He said, they're gonna go into captivity in a place where they're strangers, and they're gonna come back to this land. Abraham was in the land of Canaan when he got the prophecy. And here you go. The Lord was jealous. This is Joshua 78 and 16. The Lord was jealous of his people and his inheritance, and he heard their voice, and he resolved to take them out of the affliction. What affliction? The one that's in Genesis 15. To give them the land of Canaan for possession. Okay. And then we go to 79 and 18. Zipporah returned. This is Noah, Moses' wife. Zipporah returned with her children, and they went to the house of Raoul, and they remained there until the time arrived when the Lord had visited his people and brought them forth from Egypt, from the hand of the Pharaoh. So all this pertains to Genesis 15. Okay. So I don't know how in the world, I mean, after you get all this information, you can continue to ride with that lie. Okay. Any comments or questions? Okay. So with that being said, you got a scripture you want to bring out?
Shalom, yes, sir. It was in Jubilees 33.
Okay.
And so Jubilees. So yeah, Jubilees 33 and 8, and it'd be 8 through 11, sir. And so it's and Jacob, actually I think I need to start at 7. And so and when Jacob returned and saw her, she said unto him, I am not clean for you, for I have been defiled as regards thee. For Reuben hath defiled me and hath lain with me in the night, and I was asleep and did not discover until he uncovered my skirt and slept with me. And Jacob was exceedingly wroth with Reuben because he had lain with Bilhah, because he had uncovered his father's skirt. And Jacob did not approach her again because Reuben had defiled her. And as for any man who uncovereth his father's skirt, his deed is wicked exceedingly, for he is abominable before the Lord. For this reason it is written and ordained on the heavenly tablets that a man should not lie with his father's wife and should not uncover his father's skirt, for this is unclean. They shall surely die together, the man who lieth with his father's wife, and the woman also, for they have wrought uncleanliness on the earth. Verse 11. And there shall be nothing unclean before our God in the nation, for he hath chosen for himself as a possession. And again, it is written a second time, Cursed he be who lieth with the wife of his father, for he hath uncovered his father's shame. And all the holy ones of the Lord said, so be it, so be it.
Okay.
And so, so Brother Leonard, so I had brought that up though, because if Ham was Noah's son, then how it says in verse 10, for this is written and ordained on the heavenly tablets, a man shall not lie with his father's wife and should not uncover his father's skirt, for this is unclean. They shall surely die together.
Right. Right. So but that's the reason he didn't get killed, because he ain't none his son. But and then it
Right.
was Japhat that done it. But so Japhat ain't none his son, because if he was a son and he laid with his father's necklace, he would have got killed right there. But he ain't none his father. They ain't none his father. And then he did that and left. He ran. He fled and went to over there where they at today, the Europeans, the Japhet. He did that. He raped Noah's wife and left. Ham had nothing to do with it. So right there, we see how they tricking it off. They saying skirt, but it's actually uncovered our father's nakedness, like it says in the King James. Both mean the same thing. But what you read right there, it tells you what it means. Point blank. It's a man's wife is his nakedness. You see that?
Right. Yes, sir.
Right. So the good part about that is it explains what's being said in Leviticus. What a man nakedness is a woman. Noah's nakedness, Adam's nakedness was Eve. And the serpent uncovered her. Serpent slept with her and uncovered his nakedness. Same thing right there with what Reuben done. And that's why Judah ended up being the lawgiver because of what Reuben done. Reuben lost his position as the firstborn son when he done that. That's what brought Judah up to the forefront. But like I said, the understanding what Jubilee brings out the understanding of what that means. What a man nakedness is a woman involved in it. It ain't got nothing to do with the man being naked. It's his woman is his nakedness. Okay, that making sense?
Right. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Anybody else got anything before we go? Okay. Yeah, I see everybody on Tuesday night for our Israelite Advanced Bible Study. I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I'll see y'all Tuesday.
Shalom, everyone. Great class.
Shalom.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. When you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.